So the first thing, and one of the most important things with regard to vegetable gardening and any gardening in general, is location. All right, and we think about, in horticulture, we think about location in regard to the needs of the plant. And so in this application, sun is very important, as in most applications. The best case is unlimited sunlight, okay? And that means just getting directly impacted by the sun as many hours of the day as you can possibly have. Your vegetables will perform amazing. But if you can't have that, you want to make sure you have a minimum of 6 to 8 hours direct sunlight to cultivate healthy vegetables. So location is extremely important. And just think about it like a very hot area of your yard is probably the best place to put the vegetable garden. So one of the second most important things is timing. And so the vegetable garden that we planted here at the shop, we were real late on it, like just extremely late. What you want to be on the lookout for is FFD. And what that stands for is the final freeze date. And each area has their own final freeze date. And so what you want to do is identify the date and time at which historically freezes are more than likely not to occur beyond that point. And a great place to find that information is the Old Farmer's Almanac. They do a new book every season, every year. And I mean, honestly, like up until a couple years ago, and even still now, this is it's so accurate it would blow your mind. And they've been, as far as I know, they've been gathering their data and processing their data the same way for the entire time they've been printing this thing, which is a long time. I don't know exactly how long, but it's very important, and it's a great resource to use as a homeowner to kind of gauge what weather patterns will happen that year, final freeze dates, etc. We will put a link on this video to a website where you can find the Old Farmer's Almanac for you. And so timing's really important, but after the final freeze date has passed, you're good to drop them in the ground. Now, I will say, if you feel like rolling the dice and you want to plant before the final freeze date is over because you have a good run of weather that you see on your 10-day forecast, go ahead and drop them in the ground. You got a risk of losing them if you get cold, but if you don't, you will be the envy of the vegetable gardening community because you will be producing veggies sooner than everybody and eating sooner than everybody. So after you've gotten through the timing aspect of it, what you want to think about is types of vegetables. So as far as types of vegetables go, what I really mean to point out here is that don't just go out and buy a bunch of seeds or a bunch of immature plants of vegetables that you're not going to want to eat. Make sure you get things you like. You know, you've got your things that you think just about everyone will like cucumbers and tomatoes and green peppers, but identify what you want and what you like and plant those things. That will just make it, that will just be, you'll be more sure that you're not gonna have a bunch of waste. Because one thing that vegetable plants do, is they produce vegetables. And so you don't want to be producing a bunch of things that you're not going to eat. So number 3 is big. And that's just big on sustainability. You know, even if you're cultivating something like a vegetable plant or any plant for that matter, it's still waste if you produce things that you don't consume. And that's not what we're all about. So make sure you plant things you like. Then we move on to, once you've identified what you want, then you're gonna want to prep your area. Let me tell you, prep more space than you think you're gonna need. And so your preparation, it could be as complicated as breaking out a tiller or a hoe and breaking up the soil on the ground, loosening it up, etc. Or you can do something like what we did, which was essentially just getting a couple of cubic yards of really rich turkey compost and just dumping it on top of the existing level of soil, and then just preparing from there, like planting directly into the pile. And that works like a champ. But, you know, amend the soil. You know, that could be compost, that could be topsoil, it could be perlite. You could already have deep, dark, rich soil. It could be very heavy, and you might just add some perlite to keep it loose. Or you could be prepping containers. Like, you could be planting your vegetables in pots because you're in an urban area and you only have a patio. And just make sure that you get actual potting soil with perlite in it. Topsoil does not do good in containers. But in our application, in the video we made, we just basically dumped a pile of soil, spread it out evenly, and then we make a little line right there. We cut rows. And so basically what a row is just where you rake elevated straight lines of soil to give that plant a little bit better drainage. Because if it's slightly higher than the rest of the soil, the odds of it having water standing on it are not very high. And that is one thing that vegetables hate, and that is wet feet. So, with that being said, prep your space. Here to number 5, which is water. And the reality is this should be linked with this, number 1. When you're thinking about a vegetable garden, there's going to be certain points in the cultivation of that garden that you're gonna actually have to physically water it. And so you wanna be near a source. So that could be a river, a lake, a stream. Check the legality of taking water out of it to water. Some places that's illegal. Or, you know, you could be near a hose tap. The point is you just don't want to put the garden 300 yards away from the closest water source. And that's a little bit exaggerated, but you know, the further it is away from a water source, the harder you're gonna have to work to keep it growing during a drought or during a dry period. And so keep this in mind whenever you're choosing your location. And yeah, just keep an eye on it. Don't overwater. You know, you're gonna be really heavy on the water during the initial stages of cultivation, but you'll reach a certain point where these plants, just like other plants, will become more tolerant of the conditions that they are given. And so if you start to see your garden not wilting in the hot parts of the day, don't water it. It is adjusted. But if you don't get rainfall for 3-4 days at a time, definitely water the plants. And one of the secrets is if you don't get water on the foliage of the plant, meaning if you aim directly at the root ball of that plant and water beneath the leaves, you're gonna have a much healthier, much cleaner vegetable to eat, and you will probably produce more of them. One of the reasons why California, especially in the north, is such an amazing growing climate, all my marijuana growers know what I'm talking about, is because you are actually giving it the water beneath the leaves of the plant without getting water on the leaves of the plant directly via drip irrigation. And if you have the heat and the air, dry air, and you are giving that plant water directly on the roots, man, they just turn out beautifully. Go to 6, which is maintenance. So when you're choosing the size of your garden and the location of your garden, I want you to consider that you're gonna have to do regular maintenance on this thing. And this also links with this and also this. Because if you're not willing to maintain a large area, don't plant a giant vegetable garden. Do whatever you realistically can achieve successfully. And so, you know, regular maintenance on a vegetable garden is going to be watering, weeding. And with weeding, you know, weeds look bad, but they don't always keep the plant from being healthy and dominating its conditions. And so weeding is not so much an aesthetic thing in this application as much as it is healthcare issue, meaning you don't want the weeds to get so thick that they are sucking all the nutrients away from your veggies. And so keep the ground clean, especially in that 1 to 2 feet around the crown of the plant. The crown of the plant is where the stem meets the roots. Weeding is a regular thing that you will have to do, and then also harvesting. And so that's one of the most fun parts in vegetable gardening. You know, it will happen on the regular. So that will be part of your regular maintenance. Harvesting the vegetables in turn, if you put your garden 300 yards away from where you are parking or your house, then you're going to be hauling buckets of vegetables that same distance. So location is key. Just make sure that, you know, you think about that with regard to harvesting in your location and your types of vegetables. Number 7, and that is plan for harvest. Okay, so you're like, Trey, why would you plan for harvest? Well, the reason you would plan for harvest is the odds of you having a meal that you want to cook with 30 tomatoes is very low. And so you need to have a plan on what you're going to do with the extras. You can can the vegetables, you can give them to your friends, you can make sauces out of them. But needless to say, there will be extra, and you want to make sure that that doesn't go to waste or it defeats the purpose of cultivating these things. So call your friends, ask them if they want some veggies, give them to them. They will be so happy. And also, do a little research. Go out on a limb, try to make some spaghetti sauce from scratch, from your herbs and your fresh tomatoes that you pull out of your garden. It's really fun, and nothing is as gratifying as making your sauces and dishes from things that you have cultivated with your own 2 hands. Now with that being said, guys, just a couple of ideas here to help steer you in the right direction as far as vegetable cultivation. Now, don't forget to like and subscribe to this video and get out there and grow something. I'll see you guys later.